Hi, this is Bernie Borges, host of the Social Business Engine podcast. Welcome back to this up-close series sponsored by SAP. In this series, we examine the role of social selling at SAP. On episode 1, we covered social selling impact, why managers should encourage social selling. The theme of episode 2 is social selling best practices, and I'm joined by Alex Hunter, Gaston Edreira, and Neil Howarth, along with conversations recorded remotely with Rita and Phil Lurie. Let's get started. Even the most seasoned technology sales professionals need to develop social selling best practices. But, sometimes best practices take months to develop. So let's begin with a discussion of your top 2 best practices in social selling and how you develop them. Alex, let's begin with you.
Alex Hunter, account executive at SAP. I think with social selling, there's definitely a lot of different ways you can use it. One thing that I found extremely successful is on using LinkedIn Sales Navigator and looking into job search to look for companies that are hiring in certain areas that your solution supports. So, for example, if you're looking at an ERP solution, you can look for controllers, see if the company's hiring in the finance, accounting department, and you can read those job postings to see if they're growing and also find out a lot about the company, which will allow you in your outreach to get very customized messaging. It's been very successful for me. Another way is when you're when you're looking and you're just prospecting through LinkedIn Sales Navigator, when you add people, you're able to, put in a message in that invite to kind of spark their attention. And then if they add you back, that's when you can follow it with a customized basho. It's just another way to add in an extra touch, besides email and phone.
Alex, when you say you follow up with a personalized touch, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So personalized touch is really, it's really making sure that you're targeted to the customer. So, you can look on their website and find out their 10Q if they're a public company and find out what their organizational goals are, or you can look in their job description to see if, look on their profile to see if there's something about their profile that sticks out to you that you can use to get their attention. So maybe it's, the university they went to or the city they're from, and you can find a way to quickly connect with them. That'll really increase your response rates, as well as just understanding, the company's goals from online or from research through social. You can be more relevant to them, which will allow you to get that success, get that first conversation.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Gaston, how about yourself? What are some of your top best practice strategies in social selling?
Gaston Edreira, Business Development from SAP Hybris, Latin America and Caribbean. From my experience with social selling program and how to put into practice in my day-to-day life, and how this allows me to build my personal brand. My role is basically the demand generation for the SAP Hybris line of business. So it's important to build a relationship with the prospects or customers, and that generates, of course, new conversations that lead to new businesses and potential sales. For this, as Alex said, I use also LinkedIn and Sales Navigator that allows me to build my CXO map and get all the information of the people to be able to start those conversations. I also recommend using different available tools to schedule the posting of publications. This can be quite done every morning while having breakfast or share information of value to the whole network in a progressive way, but not in a spam. In addition, to be able to post in hours of more traffic on the different social networks as LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever the social is. So the more relevant and the more personal, the better content. For example, I have a very successful with this tool. For example, in the email, when I want to connect with someone, I use contextual information from this person to start the conversation about the person himself and not about me or what I want to sell to them. So that would be an interesting tip to dive into a conversation.
Excellent. Thank you, Gaston. Neil, how about you? What are some of your top best practice strategies in social selling?
Neil Howarth, Senior SAP Hybris Account Executive for the UK and Ireland market. So for me, I think Gaston's really hit the nail on the head there in terms of relevancy. We are really kind of at the forefront of technology at SAP, and a lot of our consumers are getting so much content, from when they get up in the morning to last thing at night. So I think we need to be absolutely spot on in what message we're getting across to them. And fortunately, our LinkedIn profiles now, we can hold a lot of data there, a lot of information on their skills and things like that, which really helps us to make sure that articles and messaging we're sharing is very relevant. For me, I actually slightly different method in terms of I try and follow the companies which have our software at the moment, and then try and follow the key CFOs, CEOs, CTOs that are moving companies. And keep an eye on those guys so we can sell to the same people, because it's a very kind of connection and relationship-driven sell, SAP Hybris, and it's very specialized. And I'd also target people with specific skill sets like Java or even as much as SAP on their profiles, because these people are going to be a lot more susceptible to the messages. So I think in short, it's quality rather than quantity. But finding the right people to talk to is really important, because otherwise we will spend a lot of time chasing almost lost causes.
Georgia, would you please discuss your top 2 best practice strategies in social selling and how you develop them?
Hi, my name is Georgia Rita. I'm account executive for the Portuguese market, focusing in the lower GB account. I would say first have a Google alert that constantly give you information about the market you are responsible. And the second is when you see an article related to a specific company, link that article to engage the client through the LinkedIn. So he knows that you have been looking about the company and what they have been doing in the next few years.
And now let's hear from Phil Lurie, recorded separately at SAP in New York.
Hello, I'm Phil Lurie, Vice President of Sales Technology at SAP. The most important thing and the first thing we teach our new social sellers or social media folks is to make sure that they build a good personal brand. And that is also needs to be consistent across different social platforms. So we make sure that you do things that make you come across as a professional. What was traditionally a resume needs to be converted to a professional profile, and we change the focus of that from what you have done to make yourself a good employee to why are you an expert and how you have helped your customers in the past. In addition, we teach our people how to use the social selling search engine tools, because the way you find new customers and identify people within the customer companies is different. So the training on how to do enhanced searches is really important.
So where I'd like to go next is to capture some social selling success stories that you might be prepared to share here today. Alex, why don't we begin with you?
Definitely. I think for me, this kind of story, it comes back to, I'm more of a volume type guy in my role. I support a lot of accounts, so it's making sure you're hitting people up on the different channels and trying to be relevant when it makes sense. So in this case, I emailed this company and was referred to their CIO. And before I, sent the email to the CIO, I checked him out on LinkedIn, and I saw that he had a post that he was looking for a VoIP service provider. Which, not something that we specifically do, but it was a way for me to kind of get in the door. We knew somebody who was a VoIP service provider that might be able to help him. So then I followed up with him, referencing exactly what he said on LinkedIn, and showed that we could help him. And once we kind of got him on the call, we knew that it was apparent that he had other needs, which kind of has opened up a sales cycle for us. But I think the key takeaway is that referral, make sure you don't waste it, and try to, when you go in, be more concise. And social really allowed me to do that because I was able to find out information from him without even talking to the guy.
Yeah, and you were a valuable resource to him before you even had that conversation. So that's a great story. Gaston, how about yourself? Would you like to share a social selling success story?
Yes, of course. Well, from my side, I'm kind of more as Alex, I'm more volume since I not the direct selling or in contact with the customer to close the deal. But I have to open a lot of doors, and I have to build my brand in LinkedIn to do so. So from my experience, talking about this relevant content and making this valuable for the networking out there in social, it has positioned me in the highest SSI from all my contacts network. I have like 10,000 contacts where I'm on the top 10. I even was in the top 3. This is not easy to address. It comes with a lot of time and engagement in the different ways, emails, sharing content, being on top of all these connections you have, and try to engage with them and make them feel you are the person that knows about these topics, that can contact you because you're that reference in such matters, and that allows me, as I said before, on the email connection, I have more opening rates, doing this more personal, being me positioned as a relevant member in the network, led me to that with all my connections.
Okay, excellent. I heard you emphasize the importance of developing your expertise, your reputation on the topics that you have expertise in. That's terrific. Neil, how about yourself? Let's invite you to share a success story, social selling success story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be delighted to. It's actually a little bit of a different one to the other guys on the podcast. But I saw a CFO that I'd met once but hadn't sold to, and he was advertising for a new head of e-commerce. And as I've got quite a big network in the e-commerce space, I actually mentioned it to someone who I sold to before that, it'd be worth reaching out for this job. So fast forward a month and he gets the job, and from that, I could then go back to the CFO and present SAP Hybris, and we're actually still engaged in the sales cycle. We haven't finished it off yet, but I think we can leverage LinkedIn and other channels, which maybe we'll touch upon later. Not just for the direct selling, but actually trying to place people in positions where we can have a lot more of an advantage to get our solution in.
Terrific. Again, you were a valuable resource to that CIO, providing him with a qualified candidate. And if I'm not mistaken, you said he made the hire, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And hopefully we'll be selling to them soon.
That's great. Share a social selling success story where you perhaps found something online from a Google alert and you connected with them, and that evolved into a success story for you.
Yes, I have a great one. Is a supermarket where I received information from the Google alert that they were looking to invest 10 million in new stores. And through the LinkedIn, I have the chance to engage the CFO via the article, and in order to understand more about what they're looking to invest and the strategy of the company to engage new market. So this was an opportunity that we had the chance to close the deal. in the beginning of this year because they were looking to expand and implement a new ERP that could align with their strategy.
I'd like to ask one more question. And, these questions really sort of evolve. They're similar to each other. This one is, I'd like to know what your biggest lesson learned has been in your social selling experience. And take this in any direction that you'd like to go in, but with the emphasis on your biggest lesson learned as you have been a sales professional using social selling strategies.
So for me, being very high volume, I'm quite high volume when it comes to LinkedIn and social. And I think for me, the biggest lesson is just using it as another extension of myself. You've got email, you've got the phone, and you've got social. And I think pulling all together really gives you an uplift on your pipeline and close business. And I think that's the biggest lesson for me, is just making sure you're using all three effectively, and making sure that your customers are getting reached out on LinkedIn. They know you're on LinkedIn, you're posting relevant articles, you're connecting with the right people, you're sending them relevant messaging, and then you're also calling them, and you're also sending them email, and you're bringing all three into one to create a seamless message to your customers.
So integration of the communication tools that are at our disposal: calling, LinkedIn, and email.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alex. Gaston, how about yourself? Biggest lesson learned?
Well, for me, is to be constant. Yeah, the constancy is one of the big KPIs. I think we should take care for being relevant and to be valuable in LinkedIn and in social in general. It does not help that every week you connect one day or 1 or 2 hours and the rest of the days nothing. But if you devote every day 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and that will have a very good results, and you will see it with the time. And also it's good, of course, pure every meeting that you engage with the person you are going to contact, not in a cold way. You can invite him, or you can know better of this person. So I think to be constant, it gets better results, not only for your first connections, even more for your second. And if you get to the third line cycle connection, you will reach thousands of persons, and you will be more valuable and more influencer in that way.
Terrific. Be consistent, be relevant, be valuable, but to do all of that consistently. Wonderful. Thank you, Gaston. And Neil, how about yourself? Your biggest lesson learned in your social selling experience?
I find more C-level executives are on Twitter these days. And actually, if we can tweet, or even something like Instagram or Pinterest, something a little bit different, again, in a channel that you can start a conversation and start a discussion, or be consultative, rather than just a direct selling approach.
Fantastic. So consider Twitter as well. Opportunities to engage and start conversations on Twitter. Fantastic. What was your biggest lesson learned in that social selling success story?
I would say make your engage with the client more personal, so they know that they are not just someone else. So you have been reading about the company, what they are looking to do and what they are doing. So I would say, when you write a message or get in contact with someone that you see as a key, go already with some information about the company, so they can see that you're interested, and also bring which kind of information and value you can support them on that.
So demonstrate that you have done your homework.
Yes, exactly.
As they say on some of the news channels, in 30 seconds or less, is there anything that you'd like to add about this topic? Alex, we'll start with you.
Being that voice of reason, being that consultant in the sales cycle is just paramount. As the focus shifts to having the customer having the power, I think social is the key, is one of the ways to do that, and will really stand you apart in your career.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alex. Gaston, how about yourself?
There is a lot of data, a lot of insight out there, and we can get more detail of any person we need to contact. Also, the way we ask our customers to engage with their customers, we are doing the same, knowing what is their contextual situation, not only the transactional side. So that is really important.
Georgia, do you have any other advice for anyone who's maybe just getting started with social selling?
I would say have a lot of different clusters nowadays that many of our potential clients are involved. So it's important you share information in those clusters. So for an example, if you are selling success factors, put about success factors in professional service, because it's a solution that could give value and benefit for them. So try link what you want to provide for a specific cluster or industry or market or a country. That is the key. So when you start seeing people looking at article and who is interested, is where you can start a conversation. So this is what I would suggest.
This has been episode 2 of the Social Business Engine Up Close series, Savvy Social Selling the SAP Way. Best practices that win customers. Be sure to download Social Business Journal Volume 11, the companion piece that weaves together the narrative of social selling success factors at SAP. It's available for download ungated at vengreso.com/SAP. I'm Bernie Borges, CMO of Vengreso and your host. Join me on episode 3, where we'll look at alignment of sales and marketing for social selling success.